Hello, I am Radagast. This is Global Mission of Peace and Mystic View, and I am joined by Shelley. Hello, Shelley.
Hello, everyone.
And this is Mystic View number 45, Name the Storm.
Mm.
And so the working title kind of came from our pre-show discussion, which we always have. And it really ties very much in with neg-entropy, which is a term that Dan Winter, a four-time guest on Mystic View, has termed. And what entropy, if you don't know, is a system that exists and then dissipates. Kind of like you would see what happens to a tornado or a hurricane. Again, these are circular systems, very much formed like galaxies that dissipate. In case of tornadoes, mercifully, they dissipate usually after half an hour or less. Hurricanes, anywhere from a couple of days to a week or so, but they always dissipate. So that's entropy. Neg-entropy is where it's more based on, to me, what I would consider zero, almost like 0 point concepts of the universe and what's in the ether, or that plasmic fluidium that permeates space, and it's called different kinds of dark matter and whatever.
I like it to think of it as a return to order. Neg-entropy.
Okay. But the beauty of neg-entropy, though, is that not only does it not dissipate itself, it generally tends to produce energy. There's an outstream of energy because being part of the organizational thing, especially in space, is that you're actually able to pull all of this plasmic or dark matter into you, and then as it coalesces at the core, you actually have this fusion type of energy that you, by collecting all these, you create an output, an outpouring of energy, which creates kind of all kinds of plasmic streams, which I think then go over the arms of the galaxy and nourish it with intelligence and other. It's kind of again the center of the galaxy is the outpouring of energy, and then that it sustains the arms, kind of. But anyway, all right, that's neg-entropy. Dan Winter. And I just would like to say, there's Shelley has 2 interviews out on YouTube. What's the name of the man who did the YouTubes?
Well, Hayam. I can't tell you what his last name is. Sorry, Hayam.
Okay, well,
on both our pages, though. I mean, it's easy to find.
Yeah, so you can always find Shelley Evans on Facebook, and
or it's on Dan Winter's site as well.
Okay, excellent. And so within what's going on the planet right now is a really interesting time, because I see planetary movement of the divine spirit. And you could almost call it a form of divine intervention. But the divine intervention is, to me, the only real, the way I understand a divine intervention, it actually moves into people's spirits, because without it moving into people's spirits, there's no hands for the divine to intervene. Bringing it back to the world's in God's hands, and here God's hands are on the end of all our arms. So obviously, this is a spiritual thing, because just like there's no evil done on the planet without our hands doing it, there's no good done on the planet without our hands doing it, as far as outward stuff. So I basically, what I'm seeing right now is the breakup of what one could almost call a hardening of this icy grip, the icy grip of the globalists. And so with Brexit, we saw them getting an idea of what it's like to be under one of the regional global government. So EU is like one regional form of global government. The United States is its own region. Obviously, Canada and Mexico are tied in. So with Brexit, we see the busting of, we see a leak in the globalist balloon there. And then with America, we saw probably one of the biggest breaks of globalism with Donald Trump. And I know there are certain people who think that he's just, they're very talking old boss, new boss, same thing. When you realize that the globalists are their biggest everyday representation is the media. When you see the media going after somebody the way they're going after Donald Trump, you know he's not one of them. And since the media are one of the globalists, if you want to know if Donald Trump is a globalist or not, all you have to do is see who's against him, and it's the globalists. So they wouldn't go after one of their own. This isn't to, again, just because he's anti-globalist doesn't make him the best person in the world, but it certainly stirs things up. And when things are stirred up, we have opportunities. And I think one of the biggest opportunities that's being afforded across the globe, but being as I'm living in the United States, is that governments have pursued their own agendas, telling us that they're taking care of us, which they weren't. They were taking care of us maybe the way a pig farmer would take care of their pigs. They are going to market and they will be slaughtered. It's taking good care of them. Got a lot of money invested in them pigs. So to me, what I see this global awakening, and to me, this global awakening is part of divine intervention. And so the best thing that any of these that citizens can do, in what I'm liking to call an awakening neo-nationalism. And what I mean by neo-nationalism is a nationalism that knows how to close the doors temporarily and take an inventory, just like any goods store does, once a year or so, or twice a year. And this is only about what I would call national hygiene. That you kind of just got to stop things for a second and then just look at it, and we see where all kinds of issues are. At the same time, we are a global village. I mean, the internet has made us all aware of each other. The reason we know about Brexit, the reason why Marie Le Pen is ahead is because of Brexit and Donald Trump. In other words, so this is how the various influences work with each other, and how, so there's this kind of rising tide that's happening here. And I just really feel that in this opening, and as the guards are busy fighting each other in many ways, that it's time for the citizens to start coming together in their individual nations. Again, nobody's shutting each other down. We're probably emailing people in other nations every day. We are already global, but it's human globalism. It's not corporate globalism. So when many people hear, like some of the things, about, Donald's just wants to be an insular nation. Who cares whether Donald wants to be an insular nation? I don't think he does, but we can't be. Everybody's always already networked. We're just realizing there's a bunch of shackles. And to me, the shackles need to be thrown off. And this is what I'm talking, what I mean is that instead of people using titles like progressive or liberal or whatever these various titles are, we just need solutions. And in the past, the government has provided solutions, and we've all seen what those solutions look like. So to me, what I'm looking for is for us to form our own solutions, to become coherent enough. And that's what's behind Name the Storm, where we become organized like these galaxies. And as we organize our energy, we find out that there's actually more energy coming out of the system than going into it. And that we use that energy intelligently. We use it to reestablish our freedom and sovereignty. And we also, and especially in the United States, where the government is underneath the citizenry have to agree enough so they can tell their underlings, who are the government, what it is that we want. But if we don't know what we want, then we have our own vacuum that they're going to exploit. So what I'm trying to say is, if we get our act together, there's a vacuum to be exploited, and it's in our own best interest. And I think it's actually the proper order, divine order of the world. Shelley, please cut in.
That is precisely what I was going to lead in with, because you had mentioned that earlier. And this is the time of divine order. Okay, it always has been. But what we see, how about for the people who are fearful of Donald Trump, what if we called him, the divine trickster? Once you can laugh at a situation, it will no longer have power over you. So how about, we've all really enjoyed the antics of Donald Trump in a sense that he's exposing the shadows. And the way to heal the shadow is to be able to look at it and if you can laugh at your own self, if you can find where that exists within us, we as citizens can be empowered. And you know what, we're just trying to sort it out as we go, because we've just had the veil kind of pulled down, and we're realizing, okay, it's not what we thought it was. So we're one step at a time figuring it out. But I think of Donald Trump as like the native trickster, the old Wile E. Coyote. And that's a service to humanity, so that we can laugh at ourselves, so we can see how foolish these shenanigans really are. Okay, hilarious. Let's move on. What do we really need to create? And divine order is guiding us. There's a lot to be happy about.
I agree. And and despite what many people fear, the chances are when you're laying down in your bed, all of those fears are not present with you in the room. Matter of fact, if you go out and open your front door, the chances are there'd be no fears there either. Mm-hmm. And I know something, when you said that about Donald Trump being a trickster or heyoka, just a trickster energy. It's so perfect. And one of the reasons why is because I'm reminded of in the trickster has a name in the Yoruba religion, which is the West African religion where Santeria, Candomblé, and Voodoo come from. And they have the same basic pantheon. They have different names for them depending on the language. So the trickster in Yoruba religion is either El Legba or El Legua. Those are the two things they call it. And the interesting thing is, apparently, there's a West African story of two farmers farming, and they see a man walking on the border of their field. And so, they're both in their fields, and they see this man, and finally he goes in and out of the, there's a field and there's a forest, and he keeps on disappearing, and he keeps on walking, and finally disappears, and they decide to have a conference at the line he's been walking on. I go, did you see that strange man? And I said, yeah. You mean the one with the white hat? He said, and the other said, well, I saw the man, but he had a black hat. And so they actually almost come to blows when the man now comes to them forward, and he's wearing a hat that's white on one side and black on the other side. And the reason why why to me now this ties into so perfectly with Donald Trump, if you talk to people who are happy with them, they will describe somebody who's walking in the United States as this one description. And then if you ask this other side on the other plantation or the other field, what does this person look like? It's this devil. And meanwhile, it's the same personage or the same being. And so to me, and they're ready to go to blows over the description of this same person. And so whether he is actually divinely propelled to be a trickster or has by situation become a trickster, he certainly is.
Absolutely. And tricksters, they cross boundaries. They're bending all the rules, and they often look like thieves. But the purpose that they serve is ultimately so that the audience or the citizens can laugh at themselves, can actually see the truth. And so once you see that, you can make a decision, you can make a choice about it. And it doesn't have to be all negative and heavy. No. You know what? We're human. Think about the root word for human: humility and humor. Well, I'm not saying that's the origin, but it's shared. It's a shared root.
And human.
That's what I'm saying. Human, humor, humility.
Right.
I mean, through humor, we can come to our humility.
Yes.
Human humility. And that's how we connect with the divine.
And that is really what the trickster is meant to do, is to show us how getting so caught up in our ego and the need to be right, we're almost willing to battle over something that we're actually not right about.
Right. Yeah. There's 360 degrees. So there's 360, parts of right in whatever your perception is. And
so in the case in the field, in many ways, the farmers could have just collapsed in each other's arms laughing and go, boy, we were stupid. Oh my, we almost got into a fight. And each one of us was wrong, even though each one of us was right. And so it makes you examine reality. It also makes you even question your quantum position. You're an observer.
Right. And it's that self-righteousness that's kind of being exposed.
Yes.
And if we can learn that, guess what? It's okay if we weren't right. That's our own judgment on ourselves. We've been taught to have these judgments. This is a conditioning, and it's not a human truth. And until you get there and you realize, hey, it's okay, that's self-acceptance. But what does self-acceptance lead to but unconditional love?
Right.
And then we get to welcome the Creator into our heart, or the goddess Lakshmi to express through us, or whomever it is that you hold as a higher power.
Yes. And even with name your storm. I mean, the whole thing is for people to actually become invested enough in each other and the common outcome. And so we create this storm. So then it doesn't become so much like, what's the government going to do? The government realizes there's a storm on the radar, and it better pay attention to the storm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be a bad storm. I mean, again, what broke the California drought? Rainstorms.
Right, exactly. Hallelujah. Right, well.
And probably removing that high pressure ridge that seems to have been artificially reinforced there for a few years. Excuse me, I didn't have my tinfoil hat on while saying that.
No, it's all right. We don't need tinfoil hats anymore. This is accepted news now.
I know. I mean, one of the nicest things about the election of Donald Trump, at least in the United States, was suddenly you heard the words Merry Christmas again. PC, again, and this is the other thing, is there's, to me, what we're now starting to experiencing the gray field of reality. Where it's not, if it's not that, it must be this. No, there's probably a couple of 100 or at least a few dozen variations of that.
Probably 360 degrees of variations.
And so what I mean by nuance is, even if political correctness has been broken, it doesn't mean we go back to calling people nasty names. Mm-hmm. It means we're no longer walking on eggshells. A good insult will be what it is, an insult. It might be that's an indication that somebody's angry. It is not, to me, the whole rebalancing, the whole reason to break these shackles is because the shackles either pull us to this wall or that wall, because you got to be shackled to a wall. Without the shackles, we can stray into the middle of the field where reality will unfold. So just like with I don't see the new neo-nationalism as isolationist. I see it as nations actually being more sovereign communication than corporate communication. Corporations is always going to be there, but and we appreciate what they make and their business. But again, they need a countervailing force to keep them honest. Doesn't mean they're not going to be rich. They might be a little less rich. But that has happened. The fake news, which the Washington Post started as like a means to throw poo on people who were saying things they didn't like. Who wears fake news now? The people who started the fake news meme. I mean, they've actually come to wear the term that they chose, that they sought to tar other people with, which is pretty amazing. And now, then we have some new terms. I mean, globalist. Globalist was a tinfoil hat term. Donald Trump used it repeatedly. Now we're hearing it in the news. Another one that broke, I don't know if it was news to you, but it's just been used in the past couple of days by the mainstream media, which are part of the globalists, is deep state. This part of government that's a kind of on autopilot that operates below the elected people that we see. And in many ways now, like when we see, security leaks from the intelligence agency towards the administration itself, that's the deep state. So deep state was one time, if you said that, you had to wear a tinfoil hat or wear a dunce hat that says conspiracy theorist. Now it's being put out there. So, I mean, It's actually, there are no rules almost at this moment. And in a time of no rules or breakdown of structure, it is time for those of us who've been unhappy with the structure to step forward with our own Lego sets.
Well, maybe we could take it to a new level. How about if we start, examining it from the perspective of the profane and the sacred? I recently had this experience. In fact, it's in one of those interviews that you were just mentioning, where I wanted to know what peace was. I asked the question, and the answer came that it was a celebration of all life. I mean, an absolute it was like, okay, if there was an insect in your house, you're not trying to get rid of it. You're not trying to think of, how can I get rid of this thing? It was a celebration. And so that's a much more cosmic perspective of what peace is, but it's a celebration of everything. So we don't have to become self-righteous to defend against being wrong about something, or prove that somebody else is wrong and now we're blaming everybody. Mm-hmm. It was a celebration of life. Like those two farmers could have just celebrated each other and enjoyed the fact that, that dude had a white hat and a black hat. Mm-hmm. Right? When we confront our knowns and when we confront our own ignorance and accept them, that's when we can embrace new ideas. And I think that's what empowering citizenship is going to require, to embrace new ideas. We're not really sure where we're going. We're just, baby steps right now, trying to figure it out. But that's what we have to do, I think, to get there, is to be willing to look at what is the unknown and be comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. That's the constant. That's always been the constant, not try to make sure we got a plan and it's fully fleshed out and we know what we're doing, because by then 30 years have gone by and somebody else has been still dictating the rules.
Right.
So, yeah.
So I mean, this is really to me, this is time to take your personal inventory, make your connection to source. Mm-hmm. And once that connection is made, say, okay, I am you in the world. So as much as I can from my day-to-day activities, I'm going to try and make sure that as I move throughout my day, I'm moving in something that is promoting the, greater coherence, greater bliss, because at the source level, it's aware of how all its parts are moving towards each other. You don't need to know exactly how you're moving towards another part. Just know that you're moving as you should be moving as a part, and everything will come together. But you need to be moving. You're not that most of that stuff probably will not be happening on your computer. Most of it. I didn't say all of it.
Right. Well, if I was going to quote somebody right now, which just before we started, I was looking at some Rumi quotes and some of the Sufi wisdom. One of the things that we often will find so quotable is, your task is not to seek love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So I think that's what would really serve the citizens. Where have we
say that again, because you broke up. No, you broke up, so you'll need to say that again. Okay.
Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So to empower our citizens, pretty much what we've been talking about is, where are we resisting letting that love and light into our own lives? Where are we still hanging on to those judgments because we're afraid to be wrong? So we're trying to make that other person wrong instead, find a way to blame or to have self-righteous superiority, right? Those are the walls that we've built against love.
Yes.
Against the divine. If you want divine order in your life, there's a celebration. That means a celebration of all life. We could celebrate Donald for his, whatever. There's something to celebrate for everybody. That's all.
That's really good.
What you got?
Well, no, I'm not sure if I really have more. No, I mean, we actually we covered transformation, divine trickster. These are actually some of the things you had brought up. We managed to get to. I think we have a good mystic view here.
Well, I'm happy to be sharing some time with you and our Mystic View viewers.
Yeah.
That's great. And so we've got some other things coming up, some pretty exciting changes and...
Yeah, Global Mission of Peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Global Mission of Peace, which is has had a symposium that is now in its 21st month. The end of the month would mark a full 21 months. And so instead of going into month 22 of symposium, we're starting the same subscription service that we've had, but we're going to name it's going to be Ambassador's Real World News. And he'll be joining us on Wednesdays on our new program, which would, be similar to the symposium, except we hope to have some new people. And he will come in and he will be looking at the news that we have seen for the past week, any news that maybe we haven't seen, and give his, unique from the inside that he is, from security services, from being involved with the royal family in China, who are definitely a part in restructuring, especially the economic, the way the world has been run economically for the past 70 years, post World War II. And so, there's a lot of uncertain times. And I mean, he's going to, plus engagement and question and answer about this stuff. So, and it's a way to try and help people get informed. I mean, people are getting information from all kinds of things. And this is another, let's put it this way. This will be real news based on his experience and what he's doing and where he's coming from, which is certainly more rarefied than many people have.
Right. And then the Circle and Mystic View will come on, and we'll question, we'll pose our own questions or dig a little deeper into something that he had offered.
Yes. That's one of the strategies is to, from when he has a Wednesday, his symposium, then we listen and we might pick out something that we might like to, as you said, flesh out or go into greater depth in a Circle show or a Mystic View show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So people, Global Mission of Peace is about to break new ground, and it's really in preparation for enough, intelligence and data gathering, so that when you're trying to put together a plan of how you're going to move, that you have a lot of data on your plate. And some of the data, and you're going to try and have as much data that is as clean. In other words, whether or not it's 100% true, somebody doesn't know. I mean, sometimes you're given a piece of data that somehow might not be correct. But when it was delivered with the full intention that this is correct, it doesn't have, it's not going to have all the, it's not going to well, is this liberal enough for the liberals? Is this conservative? This is just what's going on. From as objective a place as can be afforded. And it should be a great tool for many people.
I think it'll be fun. And also, to dig deeper. If something doesn't sound right, then he loves for us to refute and dig deep and ask the questions. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Well, I guess, and for part of us as the humans, we might hear a lot of conversation, about, the new finances, different monetary systems, whatever. The conversation, I feel that part of our job is to keep freedom and sovereignty in the conversation.
Absolutely.
It's just like, okay, I'm hearing these things. How come I'm not hearing anything about us, really? I mean, are we still just on the resource list, or are we partners now?
Precisely. And that's what I'll be directing my questions toward.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me say, why don't you say goodnight to everybody, and I'll say goodnight after you and close it up.
Well, good night, everybody. We'll look forward to our new format.
Yes. Okay. Be well. Mystic View 45. Name the storm. Okay. Until next time, God bless you all. Be well.